Hey there, thanks for watching. In today's video, I'm going to share with you 10 things that I do with money every month that give me a sense of satisfaction and happiness while I'm on my journey towards financial independence. Now, it is no secret that the journey to financial independence can be long and challenging. The ultimate reward of being financially independent is huge and definitely worth all the sacrifices that you have to make along the way, but it's a long journey and it can be tough to stay motivated to make those sacrifices. So for me, I found that it's important that I recognize those small wins and the way that I'm using my money that brings me happiness along the way. So I sat down and I did this exercise where throughout the month, I charted what I spent my money on and I looked at where I find the most happiness and satisfaction. I came up with a list of 10 plus 1, so that's 11 things that I spend my money on that make me really, truly happy, and they bring me a sense of satisfaction. This is kind of similar to the exercise that Scott Reekins did with his wife Taylor in the book Playing with Fire. He asked her to chart the things in a week that made her the most happy, and it turned out that those things didn't have a whole lot to do with money. Those things weren't the most expensive. So the conclusion of this exercise is that the amount of money spent doesn't necessarily correlate with the degree of satisfaction or happiness that thing brings. So when I did this exercise for myself, I found a very similar conclusion, that how much I spend on something doesn't necessarily equal how much happiness it brings me. However, I have come to realize that spending money in certain areas does increase my quality of life, my feeling of well-being, and my overall health in general. And those are things that bring me happiness. So I actually found this pretty interesting to do for myself. So in sharing these things, I hope to kind of inspire you to take another look at what you're spending your money on and how you can better allocate that money to serve you in the long run. So here is my list of the 11 items that bring me happiness as I'm on this journey to financial independence. Item number 1 has been hotly debated on this channel and in several other videos, but that item is tithing. So let me explain a little bit more about how this exactly brings me happiness. For me, what gives me the ultimate satisfaction, joy, contentment, and happiness in spending my money is spending it in ways that align with my principles and conviction. That is the number one most important thing to me. So when I spend money, when I allocate off the top the amount that I'm going to spend, that makes me feel like an integrated whole human being because I am honoring my convictions above my own personal wants, needs, and plans for the future. Because realistically, none of us are guaranteed a future. I could walk out the door tomorrow and drop dead. Now, that doesn't really mean that I can go out and party and do whatever I want with my money because that's not being prudent. But the point in me saying this is the future is not guaranteed. So if someone were to say to me, well, you can't afford to tithe, I would say I can't afford not to because that's one of the things that makes me who I am. The second thing that I spend money on every month is a health-related item, and that is a workout subscription. Now, some of you might think that this is a frivolous expense, and I can understand that, and for some people it might be. For me, this is encouraging me and showing me a path to a different level of fitness that I wouldn't be able to achieve on my own or just through watching YouTube videos. This particular service has a method that they're actually very careful about protecting their copyrights on, so it's not just available on these free services. I wish that it were, and I have spent 3 years trying to find it in other ways, and I finally took the plunge and decided to subscribe to this service, and it's on a month-by-month basis. So the minute I decide that this no longer brings me the health and happiness that I need, I will pause it. But for the time being, this does bring me happiness because it increases my overall physical sense of well-being and gives me access to a body and a mindset performance that I wouldn't be able to achieve on my own. Item number 3 is time with my family. So this is another item in my budget that's been sort of hotly debated, that I've personally myself hotly debated, and that is choosing to live where I do. So my mom and I share the house that I'm living in right now. We're roomies, the two of us. This is the house that I grew up in, and my function right now is to help her, support her as she pays half the mortgage. I've gone back and forth on several different living options. I've researched getting a small apartment out on my own. I've researched possibly moving to a new area, and these are all things that I may consider in the future. But for right now, where I am is the perfect place for me because I am A, able to spend time with family, and B, able to spend the money that I've allocated for housing in a way that best aligns with my principles and convictions. And in this case, that's spending time with family. Item number 4 is dinner or food with friends. I don't do this all the time, and my friends know that I am the cheapskate that will suggest going to the cheaper priced happy hour earlier rather than the more expensive, whatever, normal bar hours. I think it's like 7 p.m. onward. And people know that I'm the one that will suggest the picnic over going to a restaurant. Suggest bringing your own to a park rather than going to a restaurant. These are things that I am sort of known for in my friend circle. And I am happy to be known that way. I know that my friends appreciate me for who I am and the type of person that's working toward an ultimate financial goal. That said, sometimes there are just times when you want to get that sushi. And that actually just happened this month, and I think it was totally worth it, precisely because it's not something that I do every time I meet with friends. In this particular instance, it was a $20 sushi lunch that I split with my friend, and it was totally worth it. But here's the thing, I originally told her no, that I couldn't meet for sushi. She said that she had a craving and she knows that I love sushi, and she asked if I would be down for it. And at first my response was, I'd love to, but it's not in the budget. She's like, fine, I'm probably gonna pick up something to go because she didn't feel like cooking that night. And I'm like, okay, my plan is to have a frozen pizza. So we met up, we hung out, she had some errands to run, and I accompanied her with wearing a mask, as we both were. And I just decided, you know what, I really would like sushi. And so we ended up both getting sushi and splitting it and really, really enjoying it. I knew that I would have to work a few hours, put in a few extra hours on a different side hustle to make up that money. But just the awareness that that money would have to come from somewhere was, for me, a acknowledgement of the fact that I have a greater goal that I'm working towards. Item number 5 is quality everyday items. Now, I try to be very, very selective in how I approach everyday items because I want to stick to an overall personal care or household budget, so I'm not kind of blowing that out of the water. But I found that having good things that I use every day, when necessary and when it will add to my life, is really worth the splurge. For example, I don't necessarily need to spend a huge amount on things like toothpaste or a toothbrush. I do floss every day, but these are all dollar store purchases. However, I did recently splurge on a really expensive deodorant that I absolutely love. And for me, that spend was totally worth it because I use this every day. Item number 6 that I do with my money every month is allocate money for near-term goals. So that's really more of the way that I structure my money and not necessarily how I spend my money, but I found that breaking my savings down weekly is really helpful, so I don't have a big bill that it's due to myself for my savings at the end of the month. So I've really found that just seeing that $37 or that $50 coming out that's going to maybe insurance or to a longer term emergency fund, seeing those amounts gives me a sense of peace and accomplishment and satisfaction. Item number 7 is driving distances to connect with friends. Now, gas is super cheap around here. I think I filled up at $1.96 a gallon in northeastern New Jersey, the tri-state area, which I thought was a great deal for around here. But there are some times when I will go out of my way to connect with friends and I think, wow, I just spent half a tank to get to where I'm going. Is that really worth it? The answer is always yes, to see someone that you care about. And we'll switch off sometimes who drives or we'll meet in the middle. But even that investment in time and in energy and in resources to get to where you need to be to connect with someone that means a lot to you is an investment that you are making in strengthening that friendship and in turn your overall wellness and happiness. Item number 8 is investing in experiences. Now, you may have heard this before, that experiences create better memories and better feelings of well-being than items or things do. And the example people use is, how many Christmas presents can you remember? If you think over your life, how many things can you actually remember that you got for Christmas? Versus how many vacations can you remember and the memories that were made on those vacations. So if you look at it from a standpoint of what actually makes you the most happy, studies have shown that experiences make you the most happy. In this case, for me, because I'm not investing in large scale experiences at the moment, I'm not going anywhere huge, I'm not really investing in those types of things on a big scale, I find that smaller things like day trips really bring a sense of satisfaction and happiness. Most recently, I invested in a beach pass for the day, and I went down and I spent a day at the beach, and that was so much fun, and it's something I really enjoy doing, and it for sure contributes to my overall happiness. Now, these next 3 items, numbers 9, 10, and 11, aren't things that I spend money on, but they are things that I have found bring a great deal of happiness. I wouldn't necessarily class them above numbers 1 through 8, but they are certainly things that bring happiness to my life, and I love doing them. Number 9 is just getting outside, which probably many more of us are doing now with the current global situation. I find that just a walk or going to a park or getting outside to get some fresh air brings a huge amount of joy and happiness to my life right now. Number 10 is reading a good book, and that's something else that I have made some more time for. I do have a pretty extensive collection of books, so I've been kind of digging into them, and I'm really grateful to have them at this point. I went through my book collection earlier this year, and I really reduced down the number of books that I wanted to own, and I feel like having them with me, it means a lot more, especially now. So I'm very glad to have the book collection that I do. I've also chosen to invest in some audiobooks so I can listen while I'm walking outside, and that's something that I'm happy to spend money on as well. So this can be an option that you can get for free or spend a little money on. In this case, I spent money on books that there would be a long wait time for with my local library, or books that I couldn't necessarily readily get from my own library or from a friend. Item number 11, which I have found brings me a tremendous amount of happiness, is going through my possessions. So this is actually kind of a double benefit of reducing clutter by reducing things that I don't need anymore, and also being able to see what I have and rearrange or restructure things that I already own. So it's like shopping in my own closet, which is kind of a popular trend, but this is something that brings me a great deal of pleasure and allows me to experience the joy of the things that I already have all over again. So there's my list. I hope that's been helpful to you. Let me know in the comments what you spend your money on that brings you the most happiness, makes you really happy. So thanks again for watching, and I hope you'll keep watching. Bye.